The next morning, her mother acted like nothing had happened. She was in the kitchen, frying a cara as usual, shouting at the radio about the fuel price increase. Ada sat in a corner, hugging her knees. She hadn't eaten. She hadn't even washed her face. She just stared at the ground, barely blinking. But Mama Reese didn't ask questions, didn't say anything. At some point, one of the bar customers, an older man named Baba Idris, walked in and saw her. An, this one no look herself today, oh, he said jokingly. Wet'n do our fine girl? Ada looked away. Before she could respond, Mama Reese spoke up. She get fever jar, lazy thing. The man laughed and moved on. Ada said nothing. She wasn't sick, but she was dying slowly inside. Over the next few days, things didn't get better. They got worse. Her mother became even colder, like Ada's pain annoyed her, as if she had brought it upon herself. Whenever Ada hesitated to go to the bar, she was slapped. Whenever she flinched when men spoke to her, she was mocked. Whenever she tried to stay in her room, her mother would drag her out by the arm. Do you think this house feeds itself? She would yell. You better go and do something useful before I throw you out for real. Ada began to feel like an object, a tool, something to be used, not loved. She lost weight. She barely spoke. She started talking to herself in whispers at night, praying without words, just holding her chest and wishing it would stop hurting. Sometimes she wished she wouldn't wake up. One evening, about 2 weeks after that night, Ada heard her mother on the phone. She wasn't eavesdropping. She'd gone to the backyard to hang clothes, but the window was open. Yes, now, her mother was saying. She be small, but she don't dey mature. Ada froze. Silence. Then, how much you talk say you fit pay. Another pause. She go do am. Na me born am. I tell you say she dey loyal. Ada's breath caught. Was it happening again? Another man? Another night? Her knees buckled slightly. She held onto the clothesline to steady herself. When her mother ended the call and came outside, Ada tried to look busy, tried to look invisible, but it was too late. Ada, her mother barked. She turned, eyes wide. Tomorrow night, she said flatly. You go follow me somewhere, no questions. Ada opened her mouth, trembling. Mama, please, please, I can't. The slap was so quick, it echoed. Don't ever embarrass me again. You hear? You think say food cheap? You think say this your belgo feed itself? Ada clutched her face and nodded silently. That night, Ada made a decision. She wasn't going again. She didn't care if it meant sleeping outside. She didn't care if it meant starving. She would run. She didn't know where yet. Maybe the church. Maybe behind that abandoned building near the stream. Anywhere but here. She waited until everyone had slept, packed a small nylon bag with one wrapper, a blouse, and her father's old keychain, which she kept hidden inside a crack in the wall. It was the only thing of his she had left. She opened the door quietly, and then, Ada! She jumped. Her mother stood behind her, holding a wooden stick. What are you doing? Ada tried to speak, but no words came. She didn't need to answer. Her mother raised the stick and brought it down. Once, twice, 3 times. Ada screamed, but nobody came. When the beating stopped, Ada lay on the floor, curled into herself again. Her mother leaned over her, breathing hard. Next time you try to run, you'll leave this house as a corpse. Then she walked away. And once again, Ada was left alone, bruised, broken, and silenced. The human body knows when something has changed, and for Ada, it started with the nausea. At first, she thought it was from stress, the lack of food, the long hours standing in the bar, the beatings, the fear. But then came the dizziness. Every morning, she would wake up with a bitter taste in her mouth and a heavy feeling in her chest. Her head would spin when she stood too fast. Her mouth would water for no reason, and the smell of frying oil, something she used to love, suddenly made her stomach turn. One morning, as she bent over to scrub the compound floor, the nausea overwhelmed her. She dropped the rag and ran behind the bar to vomit. It wasn't just spit, it was deep, gut-wrenching vomiting that left her weak and shaking. Her mother saw her and sneered. "You better not be forming sickness here. If you no one work today, go and die quietly somewhere." Ada wiped her mouth and said nothing, but inside something twisted. A whisper, a fear, a possibility. The next few days brought more signs. Her breasts were tender. Her waist began to throb in the evenings. Her back ached after the simplest chores. And her monthly flow? Nowhere in sight. It had been 2 months.
At first, she thought maybe it was just late. But now, with every passing day, the weight in her stomach felt less like gas and more like guilt. Could it be? Could that night, with that man, have left something behind? She didn't want to believe it. She couldn't. That night, as the rain poured against the zinc roof and her mother snored in the next room, Ada sat up on her mat and whispered to herself, "God, please, not this too." But God had been silent for a long time, and this time, silence felt like an answer. The next day, she snuck out early, before sunrise. She walked 1/2 mile to a small chemist near the market. The woman who ran it, Madame Ijoma, was kind but curious. "What do you want this early?" she asked, still in her wrapper. Ada hesitated, then whispered, "Pregnancy test." The woman blinked. "Eh? For who?" Ada looked away. Madame Ijoma narrowed her eyes. "How old are you?" 15. The woman sighed and shook her head. "Come inside." In the back room, Ada waited. The chemist handed her the kit and pointed to a plastic container. Ada's hands trembled as she urinated, then placed the strip on the floor and waited. 5 minutes. That was all it took, but it felt like hours. She sat in silence, heart racing, her eyes glued to the white strip, like it was about to sentence her. Then 2 red lines appeared, clear, bold, unforgiving, positive. Ada's world shattered, her vision blurred, her ears rang. She was pregnant. She didn't speak for a full minute, just stared at the strip as if staring long enough would make it change its mind. But it didn't. Nothing did, not even the chemist's voice as she asked softly, "Who did this to you?" Ada shook her head. "I don't know his name." She stood up, took the strip, and walked out slowly, numb to the world. On the way back, the streets felt different. Every sound was too loud. Every face looked like it knew. Every step felt like she was dragging chains behind her. She reached home just as the sun was rising, slipped quietly into her room, and buried the test strip under the broken tile in the corner. She lay on her mat and stared at the ceiling. This wasn't a nightmare anymore. It was real. She had a life inside her, a child from pain, from violence, from betrayal. She didn't tell her mother immediately. She tried to hide it, but the body has its own way of telling the truth. She vomited more often, grew weaker, thinner, moodier, and one day, while scrubbing the bar floor, she fainted, right there in front of a customer. When she woke up, she was lying on a bench. Her mother was standing over her, frowning. "What is wrong with you again?" Ada sat up slowly. Her head spun. I'm fine." Her mother looked at her stomach, then at her, and something shifted in her eyes. She didn't ask. She didn't shout. She just turned and walked away. That night, when Ada entered the room, her mother was waiting. "Sit down." Ada obeyed. Her mother folded her arms. "You're pregnant." It wasn't a question. Ada nodded, eyes full of shame. Her mother laughed, sharp, bitter, wicked. "So you go carry your useless body-give man and come back with Belle." Ada's mouth quivered. You sent me to that man." "Shut up," her mother snapped. "Now me push you go. Abby, you no fit shout." "I didn't want to go." Her mother slapped her hard. "You want to blame me now? After I feed you all these years, you think say Belle de cheek to carry? You go see." That night, Ada didn't eat. She sat in the corner, rubbing her stomach gently. She had no plan, no one to call, no idea what the future held. But deep inside her, something stirred. Not hope, not yet, just a heartbeat. And even though she had nothing left, she wasn't alone anymore. The days after Ada's pregnancy was confirmed passed in slow, painful silence. Her mother didn't speak to her unless it was to shout instructions or hurl insults. The atmosphere in the house was no longer tense. It was hostile, and Ada, she was just surviving. She woke up earlier, slept later, tried to do everything right. Maybe, just maybe, she thought, if she proved she was still useful, her mother would change her mind. She'd still have a place. But Mama Risi wasn't the type to change. It started with the food. Suddenly, there was none for Ada. "You are eating for two, Abby," her mother scoffed one morning. "Then go find something for two. My food is for people who haven't shamed me." Then came the chores. She was made to wash the toilet every day, fetch extra water, run to the market barefoot, even though her feet were swollen. And the bar? That became hell. The customers stared openly now, whispering among themselves. "Is that small girl pregnant? Nawaro, and she still they serve beer? Her mama no try at all." Some stopped coming, others still came, but with louder laughter and more disgusting jokes. "Your husband no day around?" One man chuckled as she passed with his change. Ada kept her eyes down, silent. One evening, she returned home after cleaning the bar, stomach aching, clothes soaked with sweat. She found her mother on the front steps, sitting cross-legged, arms folded. She didn't even let Ada enter the house. "Go back." Ada paused. "Ma, go back. Don't come inside." "Mama, I'm tired. I just want to bathe and lie down." "You think this house is for harlots?" Ada froze. "I'm not a harlot. You know how I got—" Another slap, this time on the mouth. "Don't open that gutter you call mouth and talk rubbish here," her mother snapped. "You are no longer welcome in this house." "But, Mama, go. Now find the man that gave you Belle and live with him." "I don't know him," Ada cried. "It was just that one night. He didn't even say his name. You sent me." Her mother stood abruptly, eyes blazing. "I said leave." Neighbours turned their heads from their compounds. A few peeked over low fences, but none came close, because everyone in the street feared Mama Risi, and no one ever dared interfere in her business. Ada stood frozen. Her heart pounded in her chest. Her feet refused to move. Then, her mother went back inside and returned with a black nylon bag, her things packed in a rush. 2 wrappers, 1 torn blouse, an old pair of slippers. She threw it at Ada's feet. "There, take it and leave. Don't come back here." Ada bent down, tears running freely, and picked up the bag. Her body trembled from both heat and heartbreak. She turned toward the gate, started to walk out of the compound. And then, "Ada!" her mother called sharply. She paused, turned around, hope rising just slightly in her throat. Was she going to change her mind, say sorry, tell her to stay, even if just for one more night? But what came next was the final dagger. Her mother stepped forward and said coldly, "I'm not your mother." Ada blinked. "What?" "You heard me." Her voice was cold, firm, without even a flicker of emotion. "I'm not your mother. I never was." Ada's mouth opened, but nothing came out. "Your real mother died giving birth to you. My husband, brought you home one day and said, 'This baby has no one.' I never wanted you. I only agreed because I couldn't have children of my own." She scoffed, almost spitting the words. "And now look at you, after everything I've done. Feeding you, clothing you, letting people believe you're mine. You disgrace me. You carry Belle like street dog." Ada stepped back, shaking her head in disbelief. "Mama, you're lying. I'm not. Your name isn't even supposed to be Ada. My husband gave you that. I just kept it simple. And now that he's gone, I don't owe you anything." She pointed toward the gate. "Now get out of my house. You've always been someone else's problem. You were never mine." For a moment, everything stopped. The wind, the distant radio, even the barking dogs in the next street. It was like time froze just long enough for Ada to feel her heart break completely. The woman she had loved, feared, obeyed, protected, the woman who had beaten her, starved her, sold her body, was never even her mother. Ada dropped the nylon bag. Her knees hit the ground. The tears came like a flood, but there were no words. No strength left to argue. She cried for her lost father. She cried for the truth that had been hidden. She cried for the little girl inside her who still wanted to be loved. And then, finally, she stood, with weak legs, with a broken heart, with nowhere to go. She picked up her nylon bag, opened the gate, and walked away.